Once again, it looks like the Bucks are back. We dig into the details of an impressive win against the Miami Heat and the standout performers coming up next on Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Bucks. I am Justin Garcia, joined as always by Camille Davis. We thank you for making this your first listen of the day, each and every day, and for helping make the Locked On Network the number one sports podcasting network in the industry. You can hear me every single game on the Bucks Radio Network. You can find Camille as part of our Locked On NBA coverage every week and the Technical Foul podcast as well. And Camille, when we did our most intriguing games draft, I chose the Raptors game because it was not like your first true test. I mean, you had the Thunder on there, obviously, without some big pieces. And it was kind of the senioritis version of the Thunder in the final game before the break. But this was, all right, we assume they're going to beat the Pelicans coming out of the break. So you're, in theory, keeping the ball rolling here. And now here's a test against one of those teams that's way in front of you in the Eastern Conference standings. Let's see how it works. They failed the test miserably, goes without saying. But one of the other things we have talked about along the way here is, there's not going to be a 31-game win streak to close the season. You're not going to even win 90% of your remaining games. You're going to drop some games. You're probably going to go on a losing streak or at least drop back-to-back games. But how do you respond to those moments? And Doc talked about this a little bit after the game too, and basically echoed the same things. That was his most impressive takeaway from the game was he used, I think manhandled was how he termed the Raptors game. And it's true. They just destroyed them. And he pointed out, yeah, that's what I liked most is these guys were destroyed by the Raptors. You wouldn't have known it by watching this game. The way they came out and played and executed. Bobby talked about we had great practices. We've heard that before. That hasn't really been a panacea. But we had a great practice and shoot around, and we just really worked on spacing because it was horrible in that Raptors game. And I think the spacing was critical, but just this team's competitive spirit and fight was the most important part from that game last night.
Yeah, I could not agree more with that. I was watching the game, especially in the fourth quarter where the Bucks were able to pull away. You saw the defense stepping up. You saw the Heat unable to convert anything. And you saw Kevin Porter Jr. and Ryan Rollins taking the team home in this game. And I just kept yelling at my TV like I was Will Smith in Bad Boys at the end of the movie where he's telling Martin, like, that's how you drive. From here on out, that's how you drive. And I was just watching like, that's how you respond. That's how you respond. This is what I'm talking about because even doing like the Miami Heat preview for the game. And I was saying like, it's another test for you. You had the pop quiz against the Raptors. You failed. Here's another test of another team that's going to be playing a very aggressive brand of defense, a switch heavy defense. This time, can you stay true to yourselves? Can you not get sped up in this game? Can you make sure you're still moving the ball? Can you make sure you're spacing the floor properly? Can you make sure you're not getting frustrated in this game with how the whistle is or isn't in the game? And the Bucks did a fantastic job in this game of keeping composure, playing aggressive themselves, matching energy, and staying true to what they needed to do when they came into this game, which is, again, spacing, moving the ball, and taking advantage of mismatches as they presented themselves. And I was just watching the game like that's what I'm talking about. That's a great response for a Bucks team where there were questions of like, hey, is what we saw, the last few weeks just because of the competition you've been playing, or have you really turned a corner and found something this season here, especially without Giannis in the lineup? And they have another tough test tonight against the Cleveland Cavaliers, but that game against Miami last night, that's a great response because we've also seen this team come out, win a couple and then they lose one. It's like, okay, now get back on track. And then it starts a losing streak for this team. So to see them right the ship against Miami at home, and the way that they did, getting contributions up and down the roster, like KPJ, I know we're going to talk more about him and his performance, led the way, but I was impressed with how Kyle Kuzma started the game off. I love the second quarter from Bobby Portis and what he was able to do, putting the points on the board. So just a really good team win, especially after getting disrespected at home by Toronto.
Yeah, there was a lot of standout performers in this one for the Bucks, and I think the biggest one You and I have both been accused of being Kevin Porter Jr. haters, and maybe
I don't
I do
understand.
shade more towards Ryan Rollins. Not maybe, I have towards Ryan Rollins and KPJ. Kevin Porter Jr. has been fantastic for the last, this 10-game stretch, basically. And last night was based, that was his opus. That was the best I have seen him play. He was in control of every moment. His ability to break down his man, get into the paint at
Mhm.
will, it just created everything for the Bucks offense in terms of their spacing, that they constantly had someone that was touching paint, forcing the Heat defense to collapse and react. It led to open looks, or it led to Kevin Porter Jr. finishing at the rim and getting to the free throw line 8 times. So, like, this was, I think, you can look back at the moments he had in that comeback win against the Timberwolves, and he's certainly scored more. 32, by the way, which ties his season high. But to me, in the year now, basically, we have been watching Kevin Porter Jr. every single night. This was the best I have seen him.
Yeah, he's putting it together. Hearing a few weeks ago about how the focus for his game has been just to make the decisions a little bit quicker. Just make the decision quicker. And how that's translated on the court has been really, really impressive. He was somebody coming into the game where I was like, I think he's going to be a big critical part of the Bucks game plan in this game, because in that first matchup against Miami, there was no Kevin Porter Jr. in that game. It was a Cole Anthony game, and Cole Anthony did not have a good game in that first matchup against Miami. So to have KPJ back, especially with the way that he's been playing, I mentioned he's been having a career year when it comes to the assists, finding his teammates. He was able to put, the ball in the basket. That 4-point play he had in the fourth quarter, I felt like was the final momentum switch for the Bucks to kind of just continue to roll after that point, getting that lead and not looking back. But even with that, the 7 assists, 1 turnover for Kevin
Yep.
Porter Jr. Like hearing Doc Rivers in the summer talk about the point guard situation on this team, and he kept saying, like, neither Kevin or Ryan is really a true point guard, but KPJ is closer to it. And you can see the why Doc Rivers felt that way when you watch this team play and watch what Kevin Porter Jr. has been doing. And even outside of the scoring, even outside of the assists, even outside of him not turning the ball over in this game, what stood out to me was that he was second in the team in rebounds. Like, he had 7 rebounds in this game as well. There are going to be nights where your shot doesn't fall. Like we saw that with Cam Thomas tonight. There are going to be nights where your shot doesn't fall, but what other ways can you contribute to the team victory on the floor? And Kevin Porter Jr. right now is doing it in so many different ways. It's just been really impressive watching him play basketball over this stretch. And man, I like at this point, like I'd be like, I can't wait to see 7 back on the court. So when he got banged up early in the game and went straight to the locker room, I was just like, oh no, like this kid can't catch a break. He has just been battling through injuries, and then he came back and had this game. Like KPJ, player of the game for the Bucks, in my opinion, and this one with the bullet.
Yeah, it's not even close. He was the best player on the floor in this
Yeah.
game. In the win against the Miami Heat, he was fantastic. Some other guys worth pointing out in the performances that we saw from them. We'll dig into those details coming up after this on Locked On Bucks. Time to talk to you now about our friends over at FanDuel. If you've ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. You use your profit boost, any NBA feature, and then you're automatically entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2 flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock in that pick and make you the team that can a deep run. This time of year, futures, you'll love it. Picking a team to win the championship or just grab the conference title, adding that extra layer of excitement to every single game down the stretch. And not only can your pick cash in, but it can also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And you can sign up for the Everydayer Club. With it, you get ad-free episodes of Locked On Bucks. You get access to the Discord channel as well. See some additional polls that we throw out there. We've even had a few basically associate producers suggesting, hey, we'd like to hear you talk about this. So it's your way to interact with us. Not only on Locked On Bucks, you get access to all fans as well. You can lurk in the subs of the teams the Bucks are trying to catch there. Maybe see if the Hornets or Hawks are too concerned about the Bucks. You can get all that with the Everydayer Club. You can sign up for it through the link that you find in the show notes of today's episode. So Kevin Porter Jr., again, we cannot say enough good about him. Terrific. 32 points. 7 assists, just 1 turnover, 10 assists in the loss. I mean, he was, again, the lone bright spot against the Raptors on Sunday, and he carries it over today. You mentioned, too, a little bit of nerves when you see him limp right into the locker room. And not only that, the fact that he committed a foul to take himself out of the game was the, boy. But then back just a couple of minutes later, and it was as if it never happened. So certainly good to see there. Kyle Kuzma, I agree. The way he started the game, 12 of his 19 came in the first quarter. He was getting downhill. He was getting to the free throw line as he and KPJ took 12 of their 19 free throws. But, a couple other names, Camille. Bobby Portis overall gave you a lift. There was still a couple of those moments. I think you and I talked about it, or maybe it was me and Ty that talked about this. But the one, can we do this differently with Bobby that I would still throw out there is he is a tapper for rebounds opposed to just going and grabbing it. And oftentimes that can just lead to offensive rebounds. And we saw that a couple of times with Miami. Bucks, by the way, didn't get a single offensive rebound in the second half of this game after starting terrific. All KPJ and Jericho Sims, basically. But Bobby still gave you a boost off the bench. He had a fine game, I thought. The other guys that stood out to me, Jericho Sims. Again, this is the everyone that you have been accused of hating. Hey, they're playing terrific for you. And for Jericho especially, look, there are certainly things that we can pick apart about the strategy and the X's and O's. And in fairness, I think both of us have. I've said about as much as I can say with the role that I have. But what I do think none of us can deny is this staff has at least in the last 10, 15 games recognized and put Jericho Sims in a position to succeed on the offensive end of the floor. You know what he's going to give you in terms of his defense and rebounding. He had 10 rebounds in his 29 minutes last night. But 8 points, and again, 4 shots at the rim for Jericho, where he was 4 for 4.
And on top of that, too, like the Jericho Sims play as of late, his teammates acknowledging and understanding, hey, this is where we need to get him the ball is one of the most important things with Jericho. Like, even when I saw AJ Green throw Jericho Sims a lob, I was like, okay, everyone has the memo. This is how you get the ball to Jericho. Like, get the ball to Jericho around the rim. But more than anything for me that's impressed me about Jericho Sims over the last few weeks is his passing, because for a while there, it felt like the Jericho Sims experience was just like, okay, he's only being used as a roller. He's only being used as somebody who's there for rebounds. You appreciate his defensive versatility of being able to keep up a bit better with foot speed on the perimeter, so on and so forth. But like, that was like it. And to see the way that his game continues to grow with finding that next pass, like, he was already pretty quick with his decision-making when he got the ball on the perimeter, because he knows, just like the defense knows, not a threat to shoot. So he's always been pretty quick with his decision-making on the perimeter. But seeing him on the roll where he gets the ball, and instead of going up or fumbling the ball, he's able to see the floor, kick it out, and get his teammates involved. That has been the most impressive part to me of Jericho Sims' game as of late. Like, 5 assists for Jericho in this game, along with the 10 rebounds, the 8 points, just a really, really solid game for him, to the point where I didn't think about it until like the fourth quarter, but then I was like, oh, we ain't really seen Miles Turner too much in this game, because Jericho Sims was out there just playing really, really good ball, which brings me to my question for you around the Miles Turner question is like, what 19 minutes for Miles Turner in this game? Is this something that you think we might continue to see go forward, with Jericho Sims being the big in the rotation that's getting the most minutes? Or do you think that this might be something we're seeing for the now, maybe until Giannis comes back? Because one thing I am interested in with how this team has been playing as well is, when Giannis comes back, what does this look like going forward?
No, I think it's just the now in this matchup specifically because Miami staggers Bam Adebayo and Kel'el Ware. They're the
Mhm.
only bigs that they have, and Kel'el Ware. I think he won. We said Bobby was fine in this game, but I would say the plus minus doesn't tell the story. It felt like Kel'el Ware won those minutes when he was matched up with Bobby because of his size, that he was able to get to the offensive glass and get those 3 offensive rebounds. But Bam Adebayo, it's one of those weird things too, where Jericho Sims is the guy that you would look at and say, "All right, let's see."
Mhm.
They're pretty similar in terms of their stature and size, and Jericho can move his feet. Bam is a an undersized center and a big, but he's more of an offensive hub and a guy that can just make things difficult for your traditional bigs that are just
Mhm.
more the lumbering type. Not that Miles is. So I think that was a big part of it. And the 19 minutes for Miles, none in the fourth quarter
Right.
because things were rolling, and I'm sure that was part of the thought from Doc Rivers of, all right, this works, so let's just not screw it up. And it's not the first time we've seen it happen this season. And credit to Miles Turner too. We haven't heard a peep about that of like, well, I wasn't brought here to sit in fourth quarters or that type of messaging. So yeah, I think it was just let's not disrupt this because this seems to be working for us. But I do agree with your other point of, all right, it is going to look different when number 34 returns, whether or not that is tonight against Cleveland or Friday against New York, Sunday in Chicago. Like it's going to start to look different at some point. And we had already gone over who do we think is going to be most impacted by
Mhm.
the minutes. I think that short list is still probably the same. If you look at guys like Jericho and Ousmane, who we'll get to momentarily, maybe even Miles Turner to a lesser extent, Kyle Kuzma, 25 minutes tonight. And I think that's the other big discovery here is, look, I'm not trying to say that 1 through 15, they're just loaded with like, this stacks up against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And wow, this team is a title contender. But they have more depth. And you've at
Mhm.
least reached the point where it's not just, well, we got 6 guys that we can really play. So Kuz, hope you're having a good game because we're going to need you for about 35 minutes tonight. That is no longer the case. In 25 minutes from Kyle Kuzma, that you can at least start to look positionally. And now the one spot where you may be most thin is point guard. But everywhere else, you can look at it and say, okay, if this guy doesn't have it, then we're going to keep going to this guy. And we don't have to play players because we have no other option anymore.
Yeah, and I do wonder if Doc is somebody who's famously enjoyed the shorter rotations, but I do wonder when Giannis comes back if the Bucks just employ a 10-man rotation where you keep, of course, you keep Bobby, you keep Ooze, you keep Jericho, and you keep Cam in the rotation, and you don't necessarily move anybody out. You're just moving one of the current starters to the bench, and then you minutes, of course, will be affected by that, but you just deploy a 10-man rotation at this point, or you I don't want to say you play it by the matchup because at times I don't necessarily trust the coaching staff to play the right guys depending upon matchup. Like we saw in Toronto, I don't understand why it was 3 guard lineup for so much of that game against Toronto. But if that's the route you go to, like you could try seeing what that looks like. But I do think that at this point, like Jericho Sims has earned those minutes. He has been great over the last few weeks. And when Giannis does come back, I would hate for him to be
Yeah.
affected and just not see any playing time going forward because he's proven to be a piece that you can utilize in the game.
Well, there's one other guy that has earned minutes, and it kind of disappeared, but maybe it's back now. So we'll get into that discussion coming next. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, your inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's the stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates, checking all those requirements. It means less stress, less time, and more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. So, Ousmane Dieng is back. I take it that 22 minutes. He made an impact after what was it, 18? No, 15 somewhere around there that he played against Toronto, and really that was
Like half was in garbage time.
Yeah, 8 of it came in garbage time. So he was basically, it felt like out of the rotation. Wasn't the case against Miami. We saw him check in early. He ended up playing 22 minutes, scored 11 points, pulled down 6 rebounds. One of them was an offensive rebound. But look, we heard Doc, I don't remember now if it was before or after the game, but talk about, look, he's a 22-year-old kid. He's only going to continue to get better every single game. And sometimes it doesn't really line up with how we see him deployed and used. But last night it did. And there is no denying the impact that he had, again, to give the Bucks a true 3. Because I'm sure most of these viewers and listeners, as soon as you saw the starting lineup or you heard it, you just kind of like,
here we go again.
Again, 3 guards again. Okay, fine. But look, I'm willing, as I think I'm a fairly moderate person, Camille, and willing to meet in the middle on a lot of things. I'm willing to meet in the middle on the starting line. Like, look, you want to start 3 guards, fine. I don't necessarily agree with it, but start 3 guards. If you're going to tell me, well, don't worry. Like, the moment it goes south, that's when we're going to the bench, and we are going to deploy a lot of lineups that aren't 3 guards throughout the course of the game. We may not even close with this group, but this is what we're going to start with. All right, I'm going to hold you to that. But if that's how you're going to approach this, fine, we can start 3 guards.
Yeah, I mean, he's like I said, I feel like he's earned some minutes to be in the rotation. And again, in this game against Miami, he did the same. The thing with the young players, right? It's like they need the reps. That's what's most important. You need the in-game reps to continue developing for the team to understand exactly what they have with you. And that's part of why, like, seeing KPJ and even Ryan Rollins, who 21 points in this game, I thought he had a really great fourth quarter too. Like, him and KPJ were like the lead rebounders down the stretch there for the squad here, which is kind of cool to see from your backcourt. But they need the minutes, they need the reps, they need the experience. Even AJ Green, like the first play of the game where he hit Kyle Kuzma on the roll with a bounce pass. And it's like, okay, AJ, like, I did not know that was part of your game too. Just giving them opportunities to see what they can do, what they can grow into, and what they can be. And for Dieng, it's like, yeah, get him out there. You don't have many wings on your team with his size, with his ability.
I'm sorry, did you say many, or did you leave an M off there?
Actually, any, because Kyle Kuzma is the one you can kind of slot into that. But before the season, they were saying, no, he's more of a 4 than a 3 anyway. So I'm not going to rehash that at the moment, but the opportunity is what's important right now for these guys, especially going into the summer, and you have to make more decisions about what this team is going to look like going forward. So give Dieng the run just to see what he can do. So I was very, very excited and happy to see him get in the game and actually play meaningful minutes in the rotation, have some impact plays along the way. It was, like, again, just an overall really good team win from the crew. And I hope to continue to see Dieng in the lineup and what he can do. Like, give him 20 minutes a game at the very least. Like, let's just see what he can do.
Well, and I mean, look, again, you don't have a wing at that position. So you're going to need someone to absorb those minutes. And the answer, if we're being honest and candid, and I don't think I have to convince anyone of this, the answer is not, well, okay, when he's back, it's Miles Turner, Giannis, Kyle Kuzma. That's our starting. Like, no, Kuz and maybe it's Kuz and Jericho that fight over minutes depending on matchup, or Kuz and Bobby, whatever it is. But no, Ousmane Dieng's your 3. And if we're going to start a traditional starting lineup, that's who should be starting at the 3. I mean, tonight's opponent, Miami, you're going to see Dean Wade at the 3 for that team. That's more size than throwing AJ Green in 2 guards. out there. So I do wonder, given these last two games were against, again, not necessarily undersized teams, but undersized in the front court. And Miami is a bit more undersized on that front, where it's not like Toronto and that Norm Powell isn't the biggest guy in the world. Davion Mitchell's just barely 6 feet tall. So Miami's personnel is closer in size to the Bucks starting five. You could get away with it there. I don't think you can with Cleveland, with a front court of, Allen Mobley and Dean Wade out there. So I am curious if we see a bit of a change for this game and if it becomes a case-by-case thing for Ousmane Dieng or whoever it is, if we see a change there. But, the last thing on him, too, is what strikes you most about Ousmane is I don't want to fully lean into the Ousmane propaganda, which Eric Name has accused me of doing several times in private. But he just plays with so much confidence. And that showed up last night of it's against the Miami Heat in February. So I don't want to make too much of it, but the moment wasn't too big for him. And he just went out there immediately, made quick decisions, knew what he wanted to do, and played confidently.
Yeah, and that's the piece of his game that hearing from Oklahoma, Thunder fans, where it was like, okay, he has some tools, but at times the confidence for him doesn't look like it's all the way there. Or sometimes he can be passive on the court, and you want him to kind of get that aggressiveness in his game. And one of the things that stood out to me, and I mentioned it on the show before, was I forget which game it was after, maybe the second game against Orlando, where he was just like, I trust in the work I've been putting in. I'm ready at this point. I trust my work. I'm ready to go. So just seeing him continue to build up his confidence, because he is still a very, very young player, 22 years old. So he just continues to need the reps to be out there and continue to build his confidence. And his teammates, every time he's out there, they're encouraging him. This is a team that's really happy for one another. So it feels like this could be a situation for him to thrive and grow in. He's just going to need to be on the court. So I don't want to see the yo-yo in his minutes where it's like, oh, we only played him 7 minutes in this game. Now it's 20. Give him that consistent run so he can understand what his role is and what it's going to take. And he can go out there and prepare and get out there and get to it. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Dieng can be a very important piece for this team. And I do wonder against Cleveland tonight if we do see him a bit more than we even did last night against Miami. But one thing about this Cleveland game tonight, that's a benefit. Second night of a back-to-back, we know how that can go for the Bucks, but at least the Cavaliers are also coming into Milwaukee on the second night of a back-to-back themselves after playing the Knicks last night. So tough game for them, and they have to travel here, and the Bucks have to sleep in their own bed. So I'm hoping for another game of really good effort. Hearing the team after the game, I think it was KPJ who just said, yeah, we know we dug ourselves in the hole, but it's winning time. We have to get to it now. So I'm really interested to see how the Bucks respond after a really good win last night. I hope to see that they don't come out flat in this game against Cleveland or anything like that. And I'm hoping to see a lot more Ousmane Dieng in this game as well.
All right, the bad news, not to wrap on a downer here, but the bad news is you got no help in the standings. 2 games in a row that the Bucks have played where that's the case. One of them they lost, thankfully, last night. That was not the case, but all those teams in front of you continue to win now in the Eastern Conference standings for the playoff race here. So you're making up no ground, at least for now, and I also don't see that changing tonight, Camille, or the next 2 days, I should say. Is there's no real games of interest as the Bucks are concerned tonight outside of theirs. But tomorrow when they're off, the Charlotte Hornets get the Indiana Pacers. The Hawks get the Washington Wizards.
And Kuminga's back for the Hawks too.
Yeah, and Orlando, maybe you can look there, but still a bit of a gap that you're going to have to make up. They have the Houston Rockets. It's night 2 of a back-to-back for the Orlando or not night 2 of a back-to-back, their second game. That they pulled out that win, again, against the Lakers last night. A bit frustrating there. So no help in the standings for the Bucks. You're just going to have to do this yourself and pull yourself up out of that hole and just continue to win games, because right now, the Bucks, the Hornets, and the Hawks tied in the loss column. The difference is the Hawks have 4 fewer games remaining than the Bucks. The Hornets have 3 fewer games remaining than the Bucks. Hawks have 4 more wins, and the Hornets have 3 more wins. So just start to take care of business, winning games, and things will start to turn around here. We thank you as always for tuning in today. Coming up later today, you'll get a preview of that matchup with the Cleveland Cavaliers from Camille and Danny of Locked On Cavs. And then coming up on tomorrow's show, we'll have the recap of the Bucks and the Cavs. Make sure you subscribe and follow the show so you get all the latest episodes. You get notified when we go live as well. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. You get Locked On Bucks ad-free and access to the members-only Discord. More of that out there on Discord. Again, not just Bucks. You can get access to every single team, but you can certainly, depending on the game, commiserate or celebrate another Ousmane Dieng and KPJ performance with fellow Bucks fans on the Locked On Bucks Discord. For those of you on video, we now send you to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make that your second listen. NBA Game Nights on Locked On NBA. For Camille, I'm Justin. We'll talk with you once again tomorrow on Locked On Bucks.